Google just dropped $3.2 billion on a company most people have never heard of, and the stock exploded over 230% in a year. So, what does this mystery company actually do, and is it too late to get in? What's up, everyone? Crypto Nomad here. Today we're diving into TeraWulf, trading under the ticker symbol WULF on the Nasdaq. If you've been watching the stock market lately, you might have noticed this company making some serious waves. The stock has surged over 230% in the past year. But what exactly does TeraWulf do, and why are big players like Google getting involved? Let's break it down in a way that actually makes sense. TeraWulf is what we call a digital infrastructure company. Think of them as the behind-the-scenes builders of the digital economy. They started out mining Bitcoin, using powerful computers to process cryptocurrency transactions, but they're now making a massive pivot into something even bigger: artificial intelligence infrastructure. Let's start with the basics. TeraWulf owns and operates data centers, massive facilities filled with super powerful computers. Their flagship facility is called Lake Mariner, located in western New York on the site of an old retired coal plant. This is important because they converted this old energy infrastructure into something cutting edge. Here's what makes them different. TeraWulf powers their operations with over 90% zero-carbon energy. They use nuclear power, hydroelectric power, and solar energy. In today's world where everyone's talking about climate change and sustainability, this is a huge selling point. Companies don't just want computing power anymore, they want green computing power. Originally, TeraWulf focused on Bitcoin mining. For those who might not be familiar, Bitcoin mining involves using computers to solve complex mathematical problems, and in return, you earn Bitcoin. It's energy intensive, which is why having access to cheap, clean energy matters so much. But here's where things get really interesting. TeraWulf is now pivoting hard into AI and high-performance computing, or HPC for short. Instead of just mining Bitcoin, they're renting out their infrastructure to companies that need massive computing power to train AI models and run AI applications. Think of it like this. If Bitcoin mining was their first business model, AI infrastructure is their next evolution. Now let's talk about what's been driving the stock price crazy: their partnerships, especially with Google. In August 2025, TeraWulf announced a game-changing deal with FluidStack, an AI cloud platform that provides computing services to major AI companies. Under this agreement, TeraWulf will provide over 200 megawatts of computing capacity at their Lake Mariner facility. To put that in perspective, 1 megawatt can power about 750 homes, so we're talking about industrial-scale computing power here. The deal is worth approximately $3.7 billion over the initial 10-year term. But here's the kicker: there are extension options that could push the total contract value to $8.7 billion. But wait, it gets even better. Google stepped in as a financial backer. Google is backstopping $1.8 billion of FluidStack's lease obligations, essentially guaranteeing the payments. In exchange, Google received warrants to buy approximately 41 million shares of TeraWulf stock, giving them about an 8% ownership stake in the company. Then, in October 2025, the deal got even bigger. FluidStack exercised an option for an additional 160 megawatts of capacity, and Google increased their total financial backing to $3.2 billion. With this expansion, Google's potential ownership stake could reach 14% of the company. When a tech giant like Google puts this much money and stake behind a company, it's a massive vote of confidence. Why would Google do this? Because AI requires enormous amounts of computing power, and there's a shortage of data center capacity that can handle these workloads. By backing TeraWulf, Google is essentially securing access to the infrastructure they need for their AI ambitions, while also potentially profiting from TeraWulf's success. TeraWulf isn't putting all their eggs in one basket. They also have a deal with Core 42, which is a subsidiary of G42, a major AI and technology company based in the United Arab Emirates. This partnership, announced in late 2024, involves providing 72.5 megawatts of high-performance computing infrastructure at Lake Mariner. The first phase is expected to deliver 40 megawatts by mid-2026. What's interesting here is that TeraWulf is working with international clients, not just domestic ones. This shows they're positioning themselves as a global player in the AI infrastructure space. Combined with the FluidStack deal, they now have over 360 megawatts of committed capacity. That's more capacity than they currently have for their Bitcoin mining operations. Let's talk about an important acquisition TeraWulf made to strengthen their business. In May 2025, TeraWulf acquired WULF Electricity and Data, a company that specialized in power generation and electrical infrastructure. The deal was worth approximately $52.4 million, consisting of $3 million in cash and 5 million shares of TeraWulf stock. There are also potential additional payments of up to $19 million in cash and $30 million in stock if certain business milestones are achieved. So why does this matter? This acquisition brought 94 employees into TeraWulf, including site staff at Lake Mariner and corporate support personnel. More importantly, WULF had deep expertise in developing and operating power generation assets. Remember, TeraWulf's big advantage is their access to cheap, clean energy. By acquiring WULF, they brought that energy expertise in-house. This is called vertical integration, controlling more of your supply chain. It means they can be more efficient, have better control over costs, and scale up their operations faster. Think of it like this. Before, they were renting expertise. Now they own it. This acquisition eliminates a related party relationship. WULF was connected to TeraWulf's leadership, streamlines their corporate structure, and gives them more control over their destiny. TeraWulf isn't stopping with their current facilities. They've been extremely active in expanding their footprint. In July 2025, TeraWulf secured a long-term ground lease for their Lake Mariner facility. The new lease extends for 35 years with an option to extend for another 45 years. That's up to 80 years total. They also expanded the land area to 157 acres, which increases their potential infrastructure capacity to 750 megawatts. To put this in perspective, they're currently working with about 360 megawatts committed to clients. Scaling to 750 megawatts would more than double their capacity. This kind of long-term planning shows they're confident about sustained demand for their services. They've also secured another site at Cayuga, also in New York, where they acquired a long-term ground lease. This site was previously home to a coal-fired power plant that retired in 2019, similar to Lake Mariner. TeraWulf plans to develop this site for high-performance computing, with potential capacity of up to 400 megawatts. There are even plans for a 67-megawatt solar installation and an 800-megawatt-hour battery energy storage system on adjacent parcels. According to their CFO, TeraWulf evaluated over 75 potential expansion sites in 2025, with several moving through negotiations. This shows they're not just sitting back, they're actively looking for their next big opportunities. Let's talk numbers, because this is where things get real. In the second quarter of 2025, TeraWulf reported revenue of $47.6 million, up 34% from the previous year. That's solid growth, especially considering they're in the middle of transitioning their business model. The company has about $90 million in cash and Bitcoin holdings combined, which gives them a decent cushion. Their current market capitalization is around $5.8 billion, making them a mid-cap stock. Now, to fund their massive expansion plans, TeraWulf has been raising capital. In August 2025, they announced that they would offer $400 million in convertible notes due in 2031. Convertible notes are a type of debt that can be converted into stock later. It's a way to raise money at relatively low interest rates. They later upsized this offering to $850 million and then ultimately raised about $1 billion in total through various debt instruments. Additionally, their subsidiary WULF Compute announced plans for a $3.2 billion notes offering to fund the build-out of their AI infrastructure projects. This is project financing backed by the revenue contracts they have with FluidStack and Core 42. Here's the thing with financial strategy. They're taking on debt, but it's backed by contracted revenue. Google's backstop makes this debt much less risky for lenders, which means TeraWulf can borrow at better rates. It's a smart play. Use other people's money to build infrastructure that has guaranteed revenue streams. Analysts are projecting that once these contracts are fully operational, TeraWulf could generate over $600 million in annual EBITDA. Currently, their EBITDA is negative, but that's expected when you're in growth mode building out infrastructure. Over the past year, it's up over 230%. In just the past few months, it jumped from around $6 to over $15 per share. Just in early October, the stock surged 12.8% in a single day, following positive news about analyst upgrades and their strategic direction. As of mid-October 2025, WULF is trading around $15.16 per share, near the top of its 52-week range. The stock has been extremely volatile, though. In the past year, it's traded as low as $2.06 and as high as $15.51. This volatility is typical for growth stocks, especially in the cryptocurrency and AI infrastructure sectors. When Bitcoin prices are up or when there's positive AI news, these stocks can surge. But they can also fall quickly when sentiment shifts. Here's what makes TeraWulf's story compelling. They're executing a major business transformation in real time, and so far, it seems to be working. They started as a Bitcoin mining company, but Bitcoin mining has some challenges. The profitability depends heavily on Bitcoin's price, which can be extremely volatile. After Bitcoin's halving event in 2024, when mining rewards got cut in half, many mining companies struggled with profitability. TeraWulf saw this coming and pivoted. They're still doing Bitcoin mining. In Q2 2025, they produced 485 Bitcoin, but they're rapidly shifting their focus to AI infrastructure hosting. This is a much more stable business model because they have long-term contracts with fixed pricing. Instead of hoping Bitcoin goes up, they have guaranteed revenue streams for 10+ years. The AI boom is driving unprecedented demand for computing power. Companies are racing to train larger and more sophisticated AI models, and they need massive data centers to do it. The problem is there's a shortage of data center capacity, especially capacity with access to cheap, reliable power. This is where TeraWulf's advantage comes in. They have access to abundant clean energy at competitive prices. They have existing infrastructure they can retrofit for AI workloads. And they have expertise in managing high-density computing operations from their Bitcoin mining days. Their strategy going forward seems clear. Continue Bitcoin mining for base revenue, but aggressively build out AI and HPC hosting capacity. They want to become one of the go-to infrastructure providers for companies that need serious computing power. CEO Paul Prager has said they're aiming to build one of the largest data center campuses in the United States at Lake Mariner, potentially scaling to over 1 gigawatt of capacity in the coming years. That would make them a major player in the industry. So let's wrap this up. TeraWulf is a company in transition, evolving from a Bitcoin miner into an AI infrastructure provider. They've secured massive contracts worth billions of dollars with backing from Google. They're expanding aggressively with plans to more than double their capacity over the next few years. The stock has been a rocket ship lately, up over 230% in a year, but it's also been extremely volatile. The valuation is rich, pricing in substantial future growth. There are real opportunities here, but also real risks. What makes TeraWulf interesting is they're positioned at the intersection of three major trends: the AI revolution, the shift to sustainable energy, and the evolution of cryptocurrency infrastructure. If they execute well on their strategy, they could become a major player in the digital infrastructure space. Whether you're thinking of investing or just interested in how tech companies are evolving, TeraWulf is a fascinating case study of business transformation in the digital age. Keep an eye on their quarterly earnings, contract announcements, and construction milestones. Those will be the key indicators of whether this transformation succeeds. If you found this video helpful, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think about WULF. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.